Welcome back to another episode of our 3ds Max tutorials. My name is Arnold Faller and today is going to be an exciting topic. I'm going to show you quite an interesting method of applying materials to an object, and we're going to start with a simple example. I'm going to do a simple box like this, and we're going to create a material that is taking care of all the sides of the box in one material. It's a so-called unwrap material, or we create an unwrap map. So the first step let me show you the final example first. So the final example will look something like this. Okay, so here is the box, and you can see the material is on all sides. What we have to start with is we're going to start with by creating a material, a texture for our box, and therefore we're going to take pictures of any simple box. So I just took the box of this camera and I'm going to take some pictures. So place it on your table and take whatever camera you have. I just took the phone and take pictures from all sides of your box. Let me take those pictures into Photoshop and quickly show you what it looks like. So here is, I just opened, and here I have all the pictures of all the sides of my box. The final result of our texture will look something like this. So here is the final result, and this is the texture, how it will look like. So let's get started, and first we need to crop every single image to just the content that we would like to keep. And I would recommend that you use the perspective crop tool. So just go down to crop and hold your mouse a little bit longer and choose the perspective crop tool. And also it's quite wise to zoom in a bit. And in the perspective crop tool, you just start at one corner and then leave a dot on leave a point on every corner. And once you're finished, just double click inside, and that will crop the picture so it looks like this. So it is just the front. Let me quickly do this to all the pictures, and then I will come back to you. And I am back. I perspectively cropped every single side of my box. And now we're going to combine all those 5 images. It's just 5 images because on my box 2 of the sides are the same. So those 5 images will now be combined on one picture. And for the picture, I'm going to choose a square format and also a fixed size, like 2K or 4K. So let's start with a file, new image. And I'm going to choose a simple, let's go for, I think it's, let's do 4K. That is 4096. 4096 by 4096. Okay, so the background image, the white sounds good. So here's my square image, and now I'm going to combine all the textures on it. Of course, that means that I will just select the picture, move them, and place them anywhere on my picture. Some of them will be larger, like the front size maybe, or the bottom size. Some will be a little bit smaller, so I will resize them, make them smaller. So let's quickly combine all those on my picture. So that I just select the picture, then I use the move tool, that's this one, and I drag it up here and drop it onto the new image. Every side, of course. Here is the bottom part, then we got the side, small side, and the last one is this one. Okay, so now I have to combine them. Therefore, I am going to resize them slightly. Let's start with this one. Control T. I'm going to resize it. Make sure you keep your aspect ratio the same. So here it is. Let's place it there. And the next one is this one. No, move it to the side. That is the next one. Control T. Doesn't matter if it's precisely the same. It can even be smaller. Then we got the we got this one here. Let's leave the side as it is. And also I'm going to take one, for example this one, and rotate it 90 degrees, because then it fits better on my map. That doesn't matter. So like, for example, like this, and a little bit smaller. Maybe like this. Okay. Then I take this side, which has some pictures on it, and keep the original size. And now I just have to find some place to add this piece here. And that's not too good. You know what? I'm going to make this one smaller as well. Control T. Oh, sorry. Control T and make it smaller. I'm not really ideally using the space, so let's keep this one. Then I'm gonna rotate this one back. If you've rotated, also don't forget to hold your shift key, because it will keep it straight to 90 degrees. That is fine. And now here's my last piece, and also Control T and rotate it 90 degrees. All the stuff that I'm showing, if you're not familiar with Photoshop, there's plenty of tutorials. I'm gonna link the start of the playlist for Photoshop on the for you guys up there in the corner. Okay, so there it is. I just placed it. I know I haven't used the space properly. I could use the 6th map here, but for our 5 maps it's just fine. And now I'm going to save this texture, of course, as any file format. You could use a JPEG, but in this case I would like to choose a PNG. So I'm going to File, Save it, and I'm going to pick a PNG file. The PNG file, I'm going to save it. Let's save it right here. That's called the texture. Let's go for the large one. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. That's done. We have our texture. That is the final result. And no, it's not perfect. The next point in 3ds Max is we have to create the geometry of the box. And therefore, I think it's quite helpful when you have a ruler and you just measure how big your box is. I just wrote down the sizes, and now in Max here you can of course do it in any other program, but as long as it's just a simple box, I can do it right here. So here's a box, and I'm going to create the box that has approximately the same size, and now I type in the original size. I'm in meter right now, so if I wanted to be to scale, I would have to do it in meter. We can do that. It doesn't matter. Let's do it in meters. That would be, let's see if I should be in meters. Customize, unit, setup, and no, I'm in inches. See, I did another file before, meters. Okay, so now 1 is 1 meter. The box is actually just 23 centimeters, so it's 0.23 in length. Then it's 11 centimeters in width. Now it's getting real small. Let's zoom in there. And the last one, the height is 0.057. Okay, so here it is. Press C on your keyboard and you get the box there. Get rid of the grid. So here we are, and here's my box in an axonometric or in a parallel view. So the next step is we are going to create a texture for our box, and that is of course done in the material editor. And it depends on what kind of render engine you're using. If you are like me using, for example, an Arnold render engine, of course you have to create an Arnold material. If it's a scanline, then you go for a standard material or whatever other material that you want. It's not important what material, it's just the texture that you're using on it, and this is the one that we have created. So in Arnold, I would use an Arnold material, and therefore the Arnold is the standard surface, is the standard Arnold material. And the standard Arnold material basically is a shiny material that doesn't matter because there's nothing there to reflect. So it is usually very reflective. So here's the specular, and if you take the specular to 0, then it's not shiny anymore, and also the base color to 1. And now we get our picture. That is of course a texture that we find here under maps and the general bitmap. and we search for our picture that I just uploaded, the texture. There it is, and I'm going to link it to my base color. So the standard material here in the base color, that is the very general color of my object, and that's why I link it to the base color. And now I'm going to apply the material to my box. So the box is selected, the material is selected, and I hit assign material to select. So it doesn't matter what kind of type of material you use, as long as you use the picture that we have created. And there it is. In 3ds Max, usually the picture will be applied once on every side. So you can see now the texture is once on every side. And this is now where all the magic will happen. And you will see right away that this texture method is really made for simple geometry like this, and for textures to place parts of the texture on it. First of all, we're going to select the box. And you know, it's still a box, so if you are skeptical, yeah, it's all done in the box. You can also destroy the box and just use a editable mesh like you would get from importing it. So right-click, convert to editable mesh. And now it's just as good as a geometry that you would get from any other program. The modifier that we're going to use is called Unwrap UVW. Okay, so here it is. And this is the way it works. In the Unwrap UVW modifier, you are going to find the Open UV editor. So you open up the UV editor. Sorry, it opened on the other window. Here's my my editor. And what is the editor showing me? If I zoom out, the editor shows me the texture. Right now, it's represented by a checkerboard pattern. If you don't like this, you can also go up here and where it says checker pattern, and you can switch to your texture. See? If your texture doesn't show up here, you forgot to apply the material to the box, because when I applied it, it knows that there's a texture on it. So do it in exactly the same steps that I did it. So here, then you can see the texture there. And here's my texture. Here's my texture now visible. And what I can see in green here are the sides of my box. So those are the green ones are representing the sides of my box. Actually, it's all the 6 sides of my box stacked on top of each other. And that's why we have, so if I, for example, click in here with most of the time I use the freeform mode. If I click in here, I actually select one side. And if I move it out, you can see there's still something else here. So it's all the 6 sides stacked on each other. Now they are all messed up. So what you need to do is, before you do that, you separate them all into separate rectangles, and that's where we have a tool, and that is called here under mapping, flatten mapping. So select all your sides. It's best to select all your sides with Ctrl A. That is select all. You can of course also use a window here and zoom out a bit and then select all the windows, but I prefer Ctrl A. And then you go to mapping and flatten mapping. Basically what it does, it is looking for the angle between 2 faces, and when the angle is larger than 45 degrees, so this would be 0 degrees and this is 90 degrees, so larger than 45. In our case, all the faces have an angle more than 45 degrees, and then they are flattened out. And if you click OK, you can see it almost looks like the patterns that I have moved, and it's separating all the elements from the box and putting them next to each other. The first thing is, before I get loose the selection, I move it away out of my way, because now they're all laying there. They still get textures, because this is my texture. That's why I've chosen a square texture, by the way. But the texture will continue. It will. So even if it's outside of this rectangle, it will still get the same picture, because it will continue. The map continues. So what you do is, now you select one face here. Find out which one it is here on the side. So which one is red? It's the bottom. And now you move it to the corresponding picture part. So you move it to this part, and also make sure you check up and where is top and bottom. Okay, in this, sometimes you have to rotate it 90 degrees, but now all I need to do is I move it so it fits to one corner here. So one corner fits the texture, then I go to the other side and grab this corner and place it on the texture. Okay, one more time. You can also not only select in your editor, you can also select in the 3D view. So I can select my top plane here and then find the corresponding part there. So there it is, and go to one corner and place it here, and the second one there. I'm not going to do it very precise, but it looks good. Okay, same thing with the side. So here's my front part. I select the front part. This is this one. Let's go pick the one with the picture. That is picture here, picture there. See, I took a photo of the broken edge. And the last, here is another part. That's the one with the black and white images on it. And last one, or two last ones, is this side. So now here, oh, it's already rotated, so it even makes this really fast. Add it in the corner. Doesn't have to be too precise because it's all white, and over here. And always check in the 3D view if it's really, if it's not upside down, you have to rotate it. And the last view over here is the same, so you just need to place it on top of the other one. Unfortunately, you have to align it again. Could have done it both at the same time. And there it is. Always check in your 3D view if all sides are equal, are fit properly, and also check with your original box. So if I look, here's my box upside down, and if I turn it around, it is also upside down. Mine, I think, is rotated, but so if I look mine here, so if I can read it now and I look on the other side, and it is, yes, this one's upside down actually. Let's quickly fix that in the texture. So pick this part, and all you need to do is you need to rotate it 180 degrees. You can all do it in your freeform tool. Just rotate it 180 degrees. If you hold your Control key, it will snap to 5-degree angles. After rotating, make sure you check again if the position still fits. But it was a rectangle, so it should be fine. Okay, so now this side is correctly, and actually, yes, that's correct. That's on the bottom, yeah. So now we have exactly our thing there. So that is how the final result looks like. The texture is correctly placed. Now, how do you continue? First of all, you get out of the polygon level. That means that you lose the green edges there. So that is the final result. And if you click it now, you can see the unwrap, of course, always stays there. And I just want to make sure that you know one thing. The texture coordinates are written in the geometry, so it's not necessary. The unwrap is only there to adjust the texture coordinates, but if I select my objects and do a right click, convert to editable mesh, you can see the modifier is gone and the texture is still placed correctly on my box. So it is stored in the geometry, and that's why usually the texture coordinates stay on the object. So if something is wrong and I need to adjust the texture of any object, I can always use the unwrap again. So I can apply the Unwrap UVW modifier one more time. And if I open up the editor, you can still see it looks exactly the same as before. So the placement, how I placed it on the rectangle, and if I turn on the texture, then I can see it still fits. Okay, so that I just wanted to make sure that this is just to adjust the coordinates, but once you do a right-click convert to editable mesh, it's written into the geometry and always stays there. Okay, that was a really simple, quick tutorial. Make sure you try it yourself. Take the phone, take your camera, take a box or something else, model it, and make sure to adjust the texture. So the tricky part is actually just how to apply the UVW, the Unwrap UVW modifier, and a little bit of photoshopping, how to get all those things together. Of course, you can spend more time in Photoshop and better adjust it on your background, but I just try to do it as quick as possible. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next video.